Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Robert Schmid, also known as Mr. IoT. I am the Chief IoT Technologist for Deloitte with a deep passion for all things digital. This week on Coffee with Mr. IT, we have Ken Leach from HPE, and we are talking about the edge. Ken, good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for inviting me. It's very nice that you had me on today.
Oh, it's exciting to have you. Ken, where are you? Where did I find you today? You're traveling all the time because you're a sales engineer and you just help everybody make tech work. Where are you today?
Yeah, well, so technically I'm R&D, so I'm in engineering, not in pre-sales. So I'm typically based in Houston out of the Compact campus, the legacy Compact campus that now is HPE. And that's where I'm at today. So working on our various engineering solutions, developing for edge-line systems and IoT.
Got it. Ken, you've been working with us heavily on what we call our Turnkey IoT solution. Can you tell people what that's about?
Yeah, sure. So Turnkey was really an idea by different partners, right, that we developed jointly between HPE, Deloitte, National Instruments, and PDC, where we saw a need from customers who were struggling with IoT, with the solution of where do they go with IoT. They've heard about this buzzword IoT, but what do they do about it? And we saw Turnkey as an ability to create a solution that could jumpstart a proof of concept for customers. To be able to, if those customers are in smart manufacturing or in industrial IoT, that they could jumpstart that solution through our joint partnership and our expertise in the different various fields to be able to create a solution that can go into a proof of concept and quickly get up and running with connecting sensors to data collection devices to edge line systems that can run analytics right on the edge with Deloitte Consulting backing that. And so that's really what it is in a nutshell.
So Edge, your device, your product is even called Edge Line. IDC says over 40% of all processing by, I think 2019 was the number, is going to be happening on the edge. Why edge? Why do all this processing on the edge? Didn't we just move it to the cloud and now we have unlimited capacity and compute and storage and all these great things? What is so special about the edge?
Yeah, well, so as all of these devices over the next few years start becoming more and more connected, there is more and more data available. And the way that businesses can better capture and analyze that data, the better they are to move forward in the future. And so all of that data is living and being captured on the edge. So the analysis, of course, needs to as well move out to the edge. The reason we need to do that is because, say, if we have one large cloud or one large office building, for instance, you can't fit all the people in your company within a single building sometimes. And so instead, we need to move analysis out to the edge for the same reasons. For security reasons, compliance reasons, data ownership reasons, bandwidth, latency, whatever those reasons are, there are many good reasons of why you want analytics to run out on the edge. And so we've built some systems that are purpose-built for the edge, for either a warehouse, a factory floor, a refinery, so that we can actually take our analytics platforms and put them out on the edge as well, where the sensors are living and where the data is being generated.
So these edge lines get put on refinery floors?
Say that again, sorry.
I said these edge line computers, you put them on a refinery floor, on a manufacturing floor. What are the most examples where you see these devices installed?
Yeah, so really it could be anywhere from smart retail, from warehouses to refineries. Of course, not in the hazardous zones. We have special classifications for that. Warehouses, factories, automation lines, where typically you have the work being done. And so in most cases, the edge lines can be installed in those areas, and that's what we built these for. They're shock and vibe tested, rated at different types of operating temperatures. And so they are built for those edges. We have wall mount kits, special rack mount kits as well, to put those into various stages within the facilities. So yes, that is the intention, as well as telco closets, communications closets, things like that.
I should have asked you this before, but did you by any chance bring an edge line box? Because I know they're kind of small. The 1000 is about this big. But this high,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thick, right?
Yeah, sorry, unfortunately, I don't have it here on the table, but you can easily Google it and find, HPE Edgeline and find the products.
I asked, you work a lot with my team, and it's been great. And I asked my team, what's Ken's claim to fame? And one of the people just said, oh, he's just awesome. And then
You
someone
know,
else told me, well, he took some of those edge lines home. So I know why. Just tell us why you took the edge line home. And, I think it's actually a really interesting story and a touching story. So tell us about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
yeah, sure. Well, so whenever Hurricane Harvey came through a few months ago, and of course we had the massive flooding in the Houston area, we actually needed to, work from home for those few weeks because campuses were shut down, roads were shut down, and so the way we were able to continue operating was I took some of our solutions and systems home with me. My home was, I was blessed that it was nice and safe, and so I had systems running in my home that I was able to remotely work with the Deloitte engineers and consultants to be able to continue some of our solution work. And so that's one of the great things about the Edgeline systems is I didn't have an entire data center I had to move. It was really just a few pieces of components, and I was able to set that up within my own environment, and then continue business processes until we were able to have the Houston roads cleared and be able to get back to a better state.
How are you doing? How's you and your family doing after Harvey? Are you okay? And how's the city doing in general?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. My family's definitely fine. We weren't uh, directly affected by the storm, so we were, very blessed about that. It enabled us to be able to assist others in the community. There are many that were affected and that are still affected, and so, it enabled us to be able to help and volunteer and do what we need to for the community.
So is life back to normal for you?
For me, yes. Currently, everything is back to normal. Other than, some weekends, if I do volunteer, then, I might be a little extra tired at the end of the day. But, I'm happy to do that.
Well, it's good to hear that it's back to normal for some people. I know some people are still heavily affected. So
Yeah, yeah.
thanks for sharing what goes on for you. Um, by the way, if you're just joining us, you're watching Coffee with Mr. IT. And today, my guest is Ken Leach from HPE. And as he told us, he is an engineer in R&D. So, Ken, I'm curious, R&D, IoT's been around for a while, but I think R&D and IoT, what does that mean? What are you guys looking at? What are you looking at today? What are the things that's different about R&D and IoT versus in other areas? Just give a little bit of thoughts around that.
Yeah, sure. So I started out in my career years ago, and I've always been in R&D, research and development, and my background is in software and solutions. And so what I do on a day-to-day job is we typically have, new use cases, customer use cases, or solutions that we want to build and take to market. So R&D is really focused on those cutting edge solutions, new things that people haven't done before in the same way. And then our engineering teams help design the products as well as the solutions to be able to take those to market. So I'm usually one of the front, path cutters in these solutions or these areas to be able to find out how do we take a concept or a use case and move to how do we have a solution that actually can then be deployed. And so that's what I typically do. I work with a lot of software, partners as well as hardware partners, and then our own hardware teams to be able to build these systems to be able to put something out there and not just have a concept that we can talk about, but to make it real.
So you work with customers too, right? I mean, I know you're in R&D, but you always get involved in the early implementations of new customers, right?
Yeah, sure. Occasionally, we do help the pre-sales teams and the account managers whenever there is a customer that needs help, and those things can sometimes get escalated to the engineering teams. And so we're always right there, lock in step with the rest of our teams. Whether that's support, whether that's pre-sales or engineering, to be able to better our business.
What was a use case, an example of connecting things that you just recently saw that really surprised you, that was really different, that was out of the ordinary? I mean, this is one of the things I gotta believe it must be awesome about your job. You get access to these really, really early leading examples. So what was one of those that was really out of the ordinary, that was really unique, that was really special for you?
Yeah, sure. So we've done a lot of fun projects over the last few years within HPE Edgeline, and some of those have included connecting industrial systems with sensors to edge devices like the Edgeline products, and then bringing those analytics platforms to the edge so that we can get closer to real-time analytics, seeing predictive maintenance or condition monitoring, data flowing in near real time with very low latency over to these Edgeline systems and connecting those. It's been very interesting to be able to do that. So lots of industrial systems have come into my lab over the last few years that I didn't originally think that I would ever be working with, such as an industrial pump, you know, that it pumps liquids of chemicals or water or whatever it is for treatment. Figuring out how to connect those sensors to it and collect data is not typically what you would do as a software engineer, or what you'd think you'd wake up in the morning and go to work to go connect. And so being able to put all of these pieces together to work with hardware in that way and data in that way is very different than a lot of our counterparts in the industry who only do software or only do IT. So it's really been interesting. Some of the other fun things that we've done is you've seen at some of our events, HPE Discover, for instance, where we have some customer examples where we get to figure out how to automate some pieces of a car, such as a car door. How do we communicate with those systems through CAN bus technology, which is a vehicle communication? And so being able to learn that early technology and put it together and communicate with that through the Edgeline systems is really, really interesting.
So in Turnkey IoT, we talk a lot about condition-based monitoring on day one, predictive maintenance after 8 to 12 weeks. So those are sort of like the use cases where we try to put some a machine a use case to good use, where we put an edge line next to a production line, a manufacturing line, or something like that. If you'd had to dream up something, what's the thing you want to see coming? And it's not necessarily, I'm not trying to dig into what is HPE doing and getting some future stuff. It's more sort of like, what's your dream of IoT? Where do you want IoT to go?
Yeah, so that's a pretty deep question, right? It might require a few moments of thought. I would say, you know, the whole world is open to us within IoT. IoT is a very broad term, but what does it really mean for me? I really see a world of having, you know, more and more of these connected things where if we can find a way to make IoT easy for customers and to the, you know, businesses in the world, that is really where we're going to start seeing the business value pay off in the long run. And so how do we do that as these IT companies and these leading companies within IoT? What are we going to do to make this simple rather than having to rely on, like in the consumer world, guys coding things in their garage on a Raspberry Pi? How do we make this real for the industry? And I think that that's a challenge that we all need to figure out how to solve. And that may be through working together with joint partnerships, as well as being mindful when we design products and solutions of how the industry needs to use that. And if there are gaps or areas that we need to solve, then we need to keep that in mind as we're doing the architecture. So upfront, if we can have a bigger picture of what the real use case is, where do we need to go in the future with this solution, then I think that would help us be more successful in the future.
It's like almost IoT for everyone, not for everything, but for everyone.
I definitely believe that the technology jobs are going to be changing in the years, right? Technology has always changed over the previous decades, and it's not stopping now. And so we do need to be flexible to learning how to do things differently within our own roles. And that's going to continue to change, maybe even more rapidly over the next few years. So we have to be flexible, we have to be ready to learn, and adopt this IoT direction that the world is going in for good reasons and many different reasons. But we need to be able to handle that and learn and be open-minded about new technology. How do we connect these pieces together? How do we better use data that we can access? And then how do we design even better analytics platforms that can learn more about that data without us always having to tell it what to do? And so that's really something that, those are some problems we need to work in the industry.
I always am curious, when someone like you and I, we spend a lot of time thinking about IoT, working with companies, implementing IoT, I always say think big, so we think big about things and then we start small and scale fast. But I'm always curious what people use in their personal lives around connected things. So how connected are the things in your personal life? And I don't know, is there a funny story, like a story that really is entertaining where things didn't work out so well or where things just so like, curious?
Yeah, so I mean, I have a few examples. We have my wife and I have very young ones at home, and so um, a lot of my finances don't always go to the most wired house necessarily. But we do have some interesting things lately. Like, last year I had to buy a new vehicle. My other one was getting a little bit older, so I bought a new vehicle that happens to have a Wi-Fi on it, and so I pay for the service for that data. And as we go on our long trips, we like to travel a lot with the children and take them on long trips. We found that I started using up my little 1 gig plan very quickly. Streaming audio and stuff down for the kids to my truck, and so instead I just recently went to the unlimited plan. And the service is great. I never have to worry about the song stopping halfway through the trip, and switching the radio, right? And so I really like the connectedness of that. For instance, that's probably um, one of my bonuses that I have right now, in life personally, of enjoying my drive back and forth to work and being able to stream music to my truck and have Wi-Fi devices connected if needed. I could even connect, an edge line into that system if I needed to with the Wi-Fi. So it's really interesting. I just recently bought a smartwatch as well for my wife for a 15-year anniversary, and she just loves it. The things that it can do. Um, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought we could do with watches. So it's really neat to see where we've come.
What is your wife using the smartwatch for,
So
besides looking at the time?
yeah. So of course, time, it's mainly keeping track of her texts and her calls, because a lot of times when she has the little ones around her, she's always having to find out where the phone went, or is it in the diaper bag, whatever. And so now she can just look at her watch whenever she has a notification, and it's easier to have her be able to do that than looking for the phone. As well as I liked it for being able to change the display, the dial on the back of it. And so I was able to personalize the message with something special for the 15-year anniversary and surprise her with that first. And so now she can personalize it with whatever way she wants. So just the flexibility it gives is really interesting.
That's really nice. That's really nice. Okay, we're coming sort of to the end of our time. I don't know, time always flies when we're having fun. Um, Tell me, what haven't we talked about? Give us something that we haven't talked about. I want to give you a chance to talk about something that really is close and dear to your heart, around IoT, HPE, I don't know, Houston, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Probably just my excitement about this new, you can call it a new industry, or really it's, but the initiatives that the companies are taking now within IoT is very exciting to be able to take those next steps and to make it more useful to the world. And so I think it's an amazing opportunity that I've been in to be able to work in IoT. I always wanted to work on, within my career, cutting edge technology and to work on the latest products and help design those and take those to market. And so this has been an amazing opportunity, and I'm excited for the future as well, of just how that dream is just literally able to come true in front of my eyes. And so whatever I can do to help drive that forward is really exciting to me. And a lot of times it's it's very flexible as far as I need to be ready to handle anywhere from a request from a customer, an escalation that they are having trouble with something, and I can enable them with a better IoT solution, or I can work with partners such as Deloitte to be able to design this solution that we can take to market together that could be successful, as well as the next day connecting to a sensor and figuring out how to make it work. It's really interesting and fun with the time that I get to take to do that.
Well, Ken, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for your time. It's special to me personally because I started my Deloitte career over 20 years ago consulting at HP. So now being back working with you guys has been really great, and you've been a great partner to us on Turnkey IoT. So thank you for that. Thank you for your help, and thank you for helping my team. They were all excited when they heard you were going to be on. With that, I want to say this is the end, and please join me again next Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for another Coffee with Mr. IoT. And by the way, if you missed any part of today's conversation or any previous episodes, come watch them on my YouTube channel. And with that, bye everyone. Goodbye, Ken. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.